I'm going to take a quick moment to talk to you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And I love Anchor because it does distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app. In addition, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Again, that's anchor.fm to get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Meg's Life podcast. I'm Megan and I am your host. In this episode, I thought it would be fun to talk about my wedding planning experience. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to start out with my engagement story. I was visiting Lake Lure with my boyfriend at the time, and I had a feeling that he was going to ask me, but we were walking around Lake Lure and we were by ourselves and we were just looking over the lake, and then he proposed with the most beautiful ring and I was so excited. So that was in July of 2018. And then I was working at the time and I was living at home. So I decided to look for a dress at David's Bridal. And so I set up an appointment for that. When I got to David's Bridal for my appointment, the salesperson wanted me to pick out 5 dresses that I wanted to try on. And when you do that, you get an idea of what looks good on you, what you feel confident in. You may see a dress that looks really pretty, but it's just not exactly what you thought it would be. And at my appointment, I found the dress that I loved, and it only took one appointment. What they don't tell you about picking out a wedding dress is that you have to set up a lot of appointments just to make alterations and make sure that everything fits. And they have to order it custom for you. Fast forward, I went to pick up the dress. And if you take anything away from this episode, please, please, please try on the dress before you leave the store. I got very emotional because for some reason the dress wasn't fitting right. So I had to go to more alterations to get the dress to fit. And everything worked out in the end, but there was the drama. The next thing I'm going to talk about is researching venues and making venue visits. I used The Knot. I couldn't recommend The Knot more. It really has everything you need, and you can create a wedding website on there. On a wedding website, it has the date, you can put your bridal party, you can put your registry, and it's just a one-stop shop for everything you need. Originally, I was planning on having the wedding where I am now, but it would have been easier to have it where my parents were, which is about 2.5 hours away. In total, I probably visited about 4 or 5 different venues. I was considering country clubs, but that was really expensive, and I wasn't planning on having a lot of people at the wedding to begin with, so it was just spending a whole lot of money for not a lot of people, and there'd just be a lot of open space, and I didn't really care for that. And I didn't have a dance floor or anything like that at my wedding, and that was just a personal choice. And I also didn't have a bridal party. It was just my sister was the maid of honor, and the day of the wedding, it was me and Gabe, his dad, and his brother, and then I had my sister and my mom. And That's all we needed. The next thing is determining guest count. I kept on going back and forth on who I wanted there. At the beginning, I wanted it to be really small, just immediate family, but that ended up changing. I would say we had about 50 or so people. I had my aunts and my uncles. Gabe had his aunts and uncles, his mom and dad, my mom and dad, my sister, my brother, family, friends. And the space that I had the wedding was perfect. I had it in my parents' neighborhood's clubhouse. I hope that makes sense. So you walk in and there's a kitchen on the right, and then there's an open living room space, and there's a fireplace with a mantle. So we stood in front of that. And then we had white tables that were going across. So we had 6 of those. And then we just had pull-out chairs. And then the color that I chose was teal. And I'm going to quickly rewind back for a moment. Originally, we were going to have the wedding in October because I really like how fall weddings look. But at the time, I thought that my sister would be going out of the country for work. But it was kind of funny because the day I found out that information, I had already thought about moving the wedding up. So last summer, I was graduating college, and then I also got married. And it was just a very busy month. So I graduated at the beginning of the month, and then May 24th is when we had the wedding. Like I said, the knot is just your one-stop shop for everything you need, and I just really recommend that. The next thing I'm going to talk about is changing your legal name after you get married. Number 1, you need to get your marriage license, and for that, it probably varies by what state you're in, but you and your soon-to-be spouse have to go to the courthouse, and I believe you need to have your Social Security card, and you just go there, pay the money, and then you have your paperwork, and then at your wedding, you need your officiant to sign that, and then they send it off. And then after all of that clears, you go to the Social Security office with your documents and you change that. I just recently changed my legal name on my bank account, my original bank account, because it had my maiden name. But if I'm not making sense, there are plenty of resources, and I will leave some resources down below in case I'm missing anything. But the last thing I just want to talk about is take a breath. I know people can be very nervous, but honestly, if something goes wrong, people usually can't tell. And since I didn't have a bridal party, I didn't really have to worry about drama with finding dresses or anything like that. Everything went really smoothly. It was a beautiful day. It was just so hot. As for photography, I had somebody that I went to middle school with take my pictures, and it was really nice because she had also taken my high school graduation pictures. So it was just a fun milestone to have with her. If you have any questions or you need advice or anything like that, please feel free to message me. I am recording this on April 3rd, and with everything going on, I know things are up in the air about when people can gather again. So if you had planned on getting married this year, this spring, I'm so sorry that this is happening, but I hope that it just makes your relationship even stronger, and I hope you're able to have the most beautiful wedding when we are able to gather again. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and until next time, thank you for listening.